Hey guys, welcome back to the farm. My name is Susie and I am the owner and creator here at Susie on the Farm. Happy Valentine's Day and welcome to a Tuesday edition video. Today is a special day. It is the Iron Orchid Designs 2023 spring release, and I wanted to do a special video for you guys to introduce the new products and show you a few ideas that I have. But surprise, I will be back tomorrow for a regularly scheduled video. Let's go ahead and get started with the new release and the molds. There are 3 molds in this release. The first one here is this what is it called? Dewdrop Pond, and it has a hummingbird, a dragonfly, this beautiful fern, and if you've never used the IOD molds, you know that all the amazing details they have. I can already envision so many ideas with this mold. The second mold is Toadstool, and it's just full of mushrooms. Mushrooms are definitely a trending design right now, and this one is loaded with it and lots of details as well. I can't wait to get really into using this one. The one I'm going to use today, and my favorite as so far, is the Hidden Hollow mold, and it is these cute little fairy doors. And I have had these canisters that I bought a long time ago that I've wanted to do something with, so I figured this is a perfect opportunity. I'm going to dust all 3 of the molds with some cornstarch that just helps it release, and then we are going to start forming our IOD air dry clay into these molds. Now these are pretty big, so you're going to use a pretty good bit of clay, but I'm going to show you how to minimize the amount of clay that you do use. Once you get all of your molds dusted with the cornstarch, just shake off the extra, and then you want to work your clay in your hand and go into sections, filling the entire mold. Once I get the entire mold filled, I go around the edges and clean off any excess. And now I'm going to take a brayer and just make sure that I don't have any extra on the back. Make sure that I get the back really flat and smooth. That saves some of your clay, and also just makes your design come out so much neater. After I got these all completely filled and cleaned up, I popped them in the freezer for about 15 minutes just to let them set up just a second, and it really helps them turn out easier. I had absolutely no problem with the first 2. They just popped right out, but I knew that one in the middle might be a little bit of an issue just because of the branches up top, but I was just able to work it out and got it released. I did lose one of the branches, but you can't even tell. I just glued it on there. So back to these canisters. I have a ton of them, bunch of different sizes. I am going to use the largest 3 here for this project, and I'm just going to use my Top Bond glue, which is about empty, so I'm like having to squeeze it on there. So I'm just going to put a really thin, even layer on the back of all 3 of these molds. And then I'm going to glue them directly onto the canister and give them a little while to set up. This Top Bond glue holds really well, but you do want to be sure that you get an even layer, even around the edges. And then once you put them on your product that you're going to be gluing them to, you can lightly press around all the edges just to make sure that everything is stuck down really well. You can clean up if you have any little extra clay pieces hanging out. And then I totally let these sit laying down for a while, but then after I painted them, I forgot and left them sitting up, so I had just a little bit of slidage on one of them, but you can't even tell. I let them sit for a little while, like I said, and then I am going to paint them while the clay is still a little bit wet. I do find that if I paint while before the clay completely dries, there is less cracking. Actually, I never get any cracking. I usually always paint while the clay is still wet. Oh my goodness, look at all those details. There's so much you could do to bring that out. I am going to be painting these with Dixie Belle Mint Julep. I'm going to give them all of them 2 coats over the molds and the containers and let that dry. And then I'm going to come back with some clear wax and go over everything completely. Like I said, I can see so many ways to bring out all these details. If I felt better and I wasn't, my leg wasn't swelling up every time I'm on it more than 30 minutes, I definitely would have added some of those mushroom molds, and I probably would have used some gilding wax. But I do love the way this project turns out, even without going through all that other. But that's the fun part of crafting, is just really, it's so artistic to get into all those details. After the clear wax is on, before it dries, I'm going to come back with some of the dark wax and go over the molds and the entire piece. It just brings the color down just a notch, makes it a little bit more moody, and also sticks in all those details of the molds, bringing all that out, making it pop more. I love these canisters. I wish I would have felt better and could have done so much more to them. But that's the great thing about molds. Molds and stamps are my favorite because I can use and reuse, and I'm always going to have them, and I can always come up with new ideas to use these. Okay, moving on to stamps. There are 3 stamp sets in this release, and they are all incredible. First of all, we have the birds and the bees. We have a couple of birds and some other stamp sets, and we have the queen bee set, but this one is solely dedicated to birds and bees, and those are a staple that you must have and you can use and reuse. This one here, La Campagne, I think how you say it. It's a French word, so I'm not good at that, but wow. This is like a bunch of French farm animals and florals, and they are amazing. There is so much that you could do with these. You could stamp and watercolor them. They're just absolutely beautiful. And that rooster, I have to use right now. So the first time you use your molds, you have to pull them off the backing. I prepared this cutting board before my surgery, and so I'm going to just stick this rooster on here just because I'm dying to use them. When you pull them off the backer board for the first time, you're going to feel like you're tearing your molds. I promise you are not. I have already sanded him with some 220 grit sandpaper to prep him, and then I'm just going to lay him on the project and decide where he fits. I wanted to put some more floral on there too, but everywhere that I positioned didn't work, or it looked like he was pooping that floral. So I was like, I'm just going to go with the rooster. I can always add something more later. I would like to add maybe some French wording with him with a stamp set, or maybe some transfer scraps. Always save your transfer scraps because you can stick them with things and it just brings everything up a notch. So you just lay this guy down and press on all his parts to let your ink go on to your project, and he come out amazing. I'm sorry, the lighting is not great in this video, and the ink was not quite dry because I'm trying so hard right now to get done so I can get my leg propped back up so the swelling will go down. This stamp set, I think, is my favorite. It is Antiquities. It's a lot like, some of the stamps are a lot like the crockery stamps, but they are just amazing. Look at this deer and dog, and I'm obsessed with the little Miss Priss baking powder one. There's some larger ones and some smaller ones. So you can do all kinds of projects, even down to labels. I thought about using these for my price tags, the little ones. So before you use your stamp set, you want to go ahead and condition everything with a light grit sandpaper, just to make sure the ink sticks to them well. And I'm going to use up the rest of these canisters, and I already prepped them before I had surgery. I painted them with baking soda and paint mixture. This is just an antique white. And now I'm just going to play with these stamps, see what fits where. And I'm going to use just about every one of them. I'm going to stamp all sides of these canisters just to get my hands wet per se and use all these stamps. This may not be the greatest, and there was a lot more I could do to these, but I really just want to show you guys the product now, and we're definitely going to play with these more later. The stamps go on pretty easy onto this textured paint, but they're never quite perfect, and that is the whole point of it. You don't really want them to be absolutely perfect. So I'm just going to use all these stamps as much as I can. Y'all enjoy, and I'll show you the product when I'm finished. That was so much fun. What do you guys think about this stamp set? I can't wait for you guys to try it out. It is really amazing. On to the paint inlays. There are 2 in this release. Y'all know that I have a love-hate relationship with these paint inlays, but it's getting better and better. This one is called Summer Villa, and this one is definitely a one-of-a-kind project. You have to find the right piece for it, but the other stamp set, Melange, has all kinds of bits and pieces that you can do together or do separate projects apart. If you're new to paint inlays, I do recommend this one because you can start small, do a couple little small projects before you move into the bigger one like that Summer Villa, which would definitely be something that you want to have a little bit more experience before you jump right into that one. This one has 8 amazing pages of these paint inlays. They're black and white, but they also feel like they have some kind of antique look to them. There's florals. Look, there's some more bees. Just endless the amount of projects that you can complete with this paint inlay set. I really love it. Look at this one. This one is a art project in itself. Can you imagine that in a beautiful ornate frame? There's just page after page of amazing detailed inlay. I have another one of those cutting boards that I have prepped for the paint inlay, and I thought that this one would look really amazing on it, this French detail. But I wanted to do something a little more simple today, as I am in a lot of pain, and but I really do want to try the inlays. This one is perfect for this. And look, another rooster, you guys. Oh, he's so gorgeous. I can't wait to use him. And just tons of details and florals. Look at these. So much stuff. And the one that I'm going to use is on the last page. I'm going to just use that fork and spoon on this. I can always add more later, some wording or even some floral or something. But for now, just going to give you guys a quick tutorial on paint inlays. I am using this Rethunk Junk Paint. This is sold in our store, so I like to, shop other vendors in our store. This is a resin paint, has a built-in sealer, and this is the first time I have used it with a paint inlay. So what you want to do is put a good thin layer of paint down, and then you want to lay your inlay with the grid side up, and then you want to moisten your inlay so it sticks in the paint. I'm just cleaning up a few little drippy areas there. Once you've moistened your paint inlay, I like to take a damp rag and just push it into the paint while also getting any excess moisture off of the outside. And then once I've done that, I'm just going to sit it aside for about 30 to 45 minutes and let it dry. And then once it's dry, I'm going to re-wet it and give the inlay backing a little bit of time to reactivate, and then slowly pull it off. And this is the best paint inlay I've ever done. It transferred absolutely perfect. I don't know. I did everything the same way I always did. So maybe I have just found the perfect paint for me to use with these inlays. I've always heard that using a chalk paint or something was best, but this resin paint did amazing. I love how this turned out. I just put some twine and some greenery, and I haven't sealed it yet. That's why you can still see a little bit of the color variation, but I will get this sealed once I'm feeling better. And finally, last but not least, we're going to move on to the transfers. There are two transfers in this release. This one is called Malot's Pages, and I think it's some kind of famous artwork or encyclopedia work. It is so full of so many details. I have to admit this one is not quite my style, but as I am looking through them, I can envision maybe a desk for a boys' room or something. The dark academia look is definitely a thing right now. You have 8 pages of all kinds of things, fruits, vegetables, insects. We have another page that I really wish someone would tell me what it is. I think it is eggs, but the wording's in French, and some of those are definitely not eggs. Someone please leave me a comment below what you think these are. They're really, really pretty, and I can envision using them on desk drawers or something. You have this butterflies. It's a really, really pretty transfer, and I'm going to find the perfect piece to use it on. But on to the next transfer, which I am super excited about, and I've had a vision for this one since the first moment I saw it. Look at all the vibrant colors, and you can use it on some really vibrant colors. You can use one sheet for a piece of art, or you can use them all together. They fit together perfectly. I have had this huge piece of artwork that I got for half off a long time ago. It's huge. It takes up my whole table. It's actually kind of pretty, but there was some damage in it. So I painted it and prepped it long before my surgery. I used the cottage colors. This is Haint Blue. It's really, really, really soft blue, and I'm going to use the first 3 pages of the transfer pack. I knew I wanted to get this bird in his entirety on there, so I just kind of creased the pages and cut out the extra that I did not need, saving that for later because these scrap transfer pieces you can use to add in. I'm always using them somewhere. And then I'm just going to take the paper backing off and rub as this releases. You kind of lift up your paper. You can tell when it releases, and you slowly rub and lift until you are able to get the whole image transferred onto your project. This one, this paint has a built-in sealer, so once you paint it, that's all the prep work you need to do for adding a transfer, and usually they come off super easy on any paint that has been sealed and has cured, especially as long as this one has cured. So I got the first piece on, and then I went ahead and added the other 2, and also, I don't know if you can tell, but I used some of the scraps and filled in some of the gaps between them. And now I'm just going to use some antiquing wax to bring out the details in the frame. And I just love how, no, this is not antiquing wax, sorry, this is dark wax on this super light blue. Is absolutely beautiful. It stays in those details of the frame, and then when I wipe it back, it changes the color of the Haint Blue just slightly to make it just a perfect deeper color. I love how this turned out. Once I had a lot of wax on my paper towel, I also blended it in with the artwork, and I am obsessed with this project now that it's complete. Let me know what you guys think I should price this for. I'm thinking as large as it is, I can get a pretty good amount for it. What do you guys think about this bungalow transfer? Thank you guys for watching today's video. I hope that you have enjoyed my introduction to the IOD Spring release. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment below. And I'll see you guys again tomorrow for another little video that I have prepared. I hope you have a great night.